to Millionaires Are Made, the show where we believe you can grow to be a millionaire in all 6 aspects of health. That's right, every Wednesday we share tips to improve your physical, intellectual, social, spiritual, obviously your financial, and your mental health. Today, this week, we are focusing on how to improve your mental health with poetry. Gonna be an awesome show. If you have never seen Millionaires Are Made, this is the first show built on the fundamental beliefs that every person you meet knows something you don't, and there's something to be learned from everyone in this big, beautiful world. Here at Millionaires Are Made, we are on a mission to teach the world how to grow into the healthiest, happiest millionaires in all 6 aspects of health. So we went out and got 3 awesome guests to give you 3 awesome tips on how to improve your mental health with poetry, and in the spirit of authenticity, to remove as much bias as possible. We don't talk about tips or advice before the show starts, so when our guests come out and share their knowledge, it's going to be our first time hearing it as well. Audience, viewers, this is an interactive show. We love your comments. We love your questions. And in fact, we ask them live on air so you can get your answers immediately. Real quick on that note, we're going to do our follower shout out. If you aren't following us on socials, you are missing out. Every episode, we give you a little shout out for everyone. Facebook, Heather Robertson, you're awesome. Instagram, Tommy Erickson, you're the best. TikTok, Royal Amira, you're fantastic. And on YouTube, Meenakshi Gautam. Ooh, that's a tough one, but you're awesome as well. Thank you so much for following. If you want to be a guest, we are always looking for guests. As you know, we believe everyone has something to share. So our mission is to have like 7 billion, maybe 8 billion by now, people on the show. And that includes you. If you got something to share, we're dropping a link right now. Click it, sign up as a guest, and we'd love to have you on a show. We also always are looking for topic ideas. So if you have something going on in your life, maybe it's financial, maybe spiritually, you're a little lost or confused or questioning whatever religion you might be in, whatever your topic is that you might be a little fuzzy on, send it to us. We'll create a show with 3 awesome guests that give you 3 tips on how to grow in that topic. And obviously, if you love what we do and are a big fan of Millionaires Are Made, please don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, send stars, whatever it is, however you're watching us. Also, we're dropping a link for merch. We do have merchandise, awesome hats and shirts. Go buy one, support us, and help us keep growing. And finally, before we get to our sponsors, I do love helping a lot. This show is just one piece of what I do, but I do free consulting. If you would love to have a one-on-one growth session, check it out. We're dropping the link right now. It's completely free. I'd love to hang out and talk to you. And that brings us to our sponsors. First up, we have Sarah Jones. Sarah is an amazing human being, used to be very unhappy in her marriage and buried in debt, paid one of the big debt consolidation companies, and it screwed her over more. So she wiped the slate clean and went and became a financial coach. And now her and her husband travel the U.S. in a giant RV, guiding couples, individuals, and small businesses to build fun, healthy money habits. You should definitely go click her link and check her out if you have any sort of questions regarding money or budgets. Our next is an amazing, kind of brand new, I guess they use brand new tech, Biz by Right. It's a matchmaking service for people who love buying and selling businesses. They find cash flowing deals, vet them with AI wizardry, tons of AI wizardry, and connect buyers and sellers faster than you can say due diligence. Go check out Biz by Right, and your wallet will thank you. Our next sponsor is Brian Parana, a husband, father of 4, and founder of The Call to Rise, helping busy men reclaim their faith, energy, and confidence through simple, sustainable systems that fit real life. Make it easy, make it simple, stay confident, and stay healthy. And our final sponsor for this episode is Brian Wright, who is an amazing whiz at helping you publish your book if you are a wannabe author, helping with your podcast. He's been a huge podcaster, been around for years, probably even decades technically. So if you want to get your brand in front of high-level entrepreneurs and personal growth leaders, go check them out, the Ultimate Achievers magazine, where industry icons meet a content-first audience. Brian's awesome. Thank you so much. And that brings us to our first guest. His name is Reed. Reed, tell us, who are you?
Good morning. Well, I'm just a young man, still kind of young, 32, zooming in here from Huntington, West Virginia. So I'm an Appalachian native. I'm here at Marshall University using some of their free space. And we can talk about, some of what I do, some of where I've been, try to get a perspective on who am I beyond all of that. And some people would say that we are physical beings having a spiritual experience, created by something much more intelligent and divine than we are. So I hope that's at least part of me. As far as where I come from, I mentioned that I'm from Appalachia here. I've got a diverse history with a variety of different what we would call adverse experiences in the mental health field, whether it was addiction, mental health, experiencing homelessness, different childhood traumas, and faced incarceration when I was 24. Came home, found my sobriety, my recovery, and I've since used that lived experience, overcoming addiction, getting diagnosed with mental illness, etc., to help inspire and help other people overcome those same challenges, and not only directly one-on-one or with groups of people, but systemically, whether it's running for office and getting elected, speaking on stages, working with stakeholders to really drive systemic change. I've had a business for 3 years doing motivational speaking, and I've contracted with a variety of nonprofits, trying to support their missions, whether it's, the West Virginia Drug Intervention Institute or the Youth Leadership Association here in West Virginia. I'm really supporting prevention and connection, because we know the more we invest in young people and bringing people together, the better our mental health is going to improve. We're going to reduce suicide rates. We're going to reduce addiction. And I think ultimately create a more thriving and connected world, which leads me to my most exciting new endeavor that I've ever undertaken that God's put on my heart. It's 1 billion hugs. We just launched a couple weeks ago. We are a global social impact brand and movement on a mission to create a more connected world through, what's up, Brian? Thanks so much for your sponsorship. We're on a global mission to create a more connected world through getting 1 billion people hugging, through 1 billion acts of love, compassion, kindness. I truly believe that we can make a significant impact in mental health, reducing suicide, reducing addiction, and just ultimately bringing people together to create a better world. So, you've got the link to 1billionhugs.com. You can read more about it. We're all about bringing people together. We sell free hugs t-shirts to do that. We are an apparel line. So we've got a pre-order going right now. Portion of our proceeds go to the Boys and Girls Club, go to the Youth Leadership Association, and support Appalachian social enterprises that give meaningful employment to people. So we're all about impact. We're all about connection. And I'm so grateful to be here and share some of my experience with my own mental illness, with my own journey with writing and poetry, whether it's performing or sharing that online. And I think this is a wonderful topic that you've chosen, Austin. So thanks for having me.
All right, Reed, I've got a very important question for you. If I wanted to improve my mental health with poetry, what simple piece of advice would you give me?
To get started. It's the hardest part. I mean, whether it's writing composition or an assignment or an article or your biography, get started.
Get started.
Sit down, grab a piece of paper, grab a pencil, open up a Google Doc. Like that's the best advice I can give you. It's so straightforward. Just like if you wanted to lose weight, I would tell you, put your shoes on and go for a walk. 5 minutes, that's fine. That's more than you did yesterday, and we can grow on that. If you can just get a word on the piece of paper or in the document, or just maybe title the page, poem.
Do you title your work before or after it's done? Do you title your work before or after it's done?
Oh, if I ever title it, it's after. I never title it beforehand. There's no sense. It's more for me about the artistic expression and like how I get to feel through the process versus what the end result is.
All right, Reed, where on your life journey did you learn this piece of advice?
Well, from a mentor of mine. Writing poetry came pretty naturally. Writing came kind of naturally to me. But sometimes I've undertaken kind of a lot of pressure and complex goals and stuff with writing. And I would talk myself out of doing it, or I would procrastinate and really just be super stressed with it. And my mentor, he's written for decades professionally. And he said, that's the hardest part for me is getting started. He's like, I understand completely where you are, but if you could just get started, get something down on paper, you're going to see progress. And anytime that I get started, I'm getting more than a word. I'm getting more than a line. I'm getting multiple lines. Sometimes I'm getting a whole poem. Sometimes I'm getting, a good first draft of a letter or a chapter. And so my mentor, who, saved my life a number of times, he's the only reason I'm alive. He directs the Youth Leadership Association that promotes connection with young people. But it was through him that I got that advice when I was, I don't know, probably 26 when I first came home from prison. So
When you first came home from prison. Well, I have a good feeling we're going to talk more about that. But unfortunately, right now, we're going to move on to our next guest. Thank you so much, Reed. We are moving on to Andrea. Andrea, tell us, who are you?
I'm just a small town girl with a really big heart who never gave up on her dreams. And
Yeah.
I sit before you today, having been left for dead on a curb. I sit before you today holding my first poetry book for women, no matter how dark the stain, poems and inspiration for the woman in pain. This came out in 2021, and I couldn't be more excited. Book 2 came out in 2022. Deeper Days, 365 yoga inspirations for finding calm amidst chaos. And in true fashion of myself and never giving up, came book number 3, Stillness in the Storm, a conscious daily journal of yoga and spiritual healing, which is kind of a journal where you can write, which is our topic for today, and a little bit of my words speaking. So if the world shuts down again and the yoga studios are quiet, you can read that book. You can read it to a friend and have my words in your heart and to help other people. I own Ganga Moon Yoga in Beamsville, Ontario, and I have been channeling words long, vocabulary words long before I even learned them in school. It's channeling from God. I started writing at 7 years old, and I still write today. So all of the books behind me are many journals full of words that have yet to be published. I'm just working on a brand new YouTube video, YouTube channel, Whalen Warrior Wholeness, where I'll ask some wonderful souls who are living their magic to collaborate with me to help other people become whole beings themselves. And I have this little theory in my head, and on my Instagram, Andrea L. Whalen, which is spelled a bit tricky. So WEHLANN, as you could see. I believe one poem a day. So there's a hashtag, one poem a day. And what my Zen Buddhist teacher taught me is that reading one poem a day softens your heart. And so you can let me know if you think that's true or not. But yeah, that's
One poem a day, a billion hugs. Man, we got a lot of work to do after this episode. All right.
Actually, Reed, I want to teach a yoga class here in my town, and everyone's wearing those shirts. That's amazing.
Oh man, connections everywhere. I think Reed can definitely get in on that. You may also
Interconnection.
want to reach out to our.
Interconnection.
Yeah, you also should reach out to our sponsor, Brian Wright. He is good with publishing. Maybe there's something there. But let's not digress.
Yeah.
I've got a very important question for you, Andrea. If I wanted to improve my mental health with poetry, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
Here's what: find one poem that you've heard in your life or one song lyric and rewrite that out. And then you will notice something there. It'll get through any crunchy pieces of yourself that hold you back from writing. But everyone's read an obituary for a loved one. Everyone has the little card from the funeral with your loved one. There's a poem on the back of it. If you feel like you want to write poetry, if you want to get started, it's a brilliant way. Just write that out, and then you can kind of write your own words beside it. Amazing.
I love it. Andrea, where in your life journey did you learn this piece of advice?
I did this myself. So I was hearing lots of words coming through me and wasn't quite sure if I wanted to write them down. So I opened back then we had newspapers in my small town. I would open up the obituary section, and I noticed that all of the poems sounded the same. They all said the same things. And I thought, wow, like, could I imagine that being my loved one, but the same poem is for everybody? And so I started to write my own poems and kind of copy that way. So when I had trouble, I did the songs like Depeche Mode, Someone, In Excess songs, U2 songs. I would write out all of the lyrics to those. And then that's what really opened the floodgates. for me to just keep writing without having to use the crux of the song or of the poem that was already written. I just kind of built my natural ability, and I don't think I'm anything magical. And I think that we're all the same. There's only one of us here, and we're all love. And this is a process that I can share with you intimately, that I've never shared with anybody else before. And so I hope you grab those old obituary cards and make some use of them, because there's greatness within you. And when you're shining your greatness, it allows me to be my greatest self too. And in this, the whole world is lit. And that's the world I want to see.
I love it. All right, Andrea, we're going to move on to our next guest, and we'll bring you back out in the round robin at the end of the episode. Next up, we have Patrick. Patrick, tell us, who are you?
Morning. Patrick Murakami here with Uprise Unlimited. Serial entrepreneur. Never expected this to be my life. Basically survived 2 suicide attempts, overcame that,
Okay.
to now leading others, meeting them where they're at as a catalyst coach, but really specializing in helping people how to go to that next level with their business. And I always tell everybody that my greatest client will be my son. He's 10 years old and he runs multiple businesses at this point. But the idea is, what legacy do I want to leave for him? Most of us have this grandiose idea that our legacies will go, and will be in the books forever. But the reality and statistically will probably only be around for maybe 1 or 2 generations. And so I've really taken that to focus on what is it that I can set my son up for, so that way he can have every opportunity, and who knows what he'll go on to do. But that's really been a big shift in kind of the mentality for what legacy means to me.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much. Patrick, let me ask you an important question. If I wanted to improve my mental health with poetry, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
I would say just write down your thoughts to start. Being honest about your current situation allows you to start to really put the feelings out there. And a lot of times we maybe don't have others that we can confide in. Maybe we don't have people that we can share with, or that we have kind of a push-pull relationship with, that we're not comfortable sharing everything. But you can be honest with yourself. And that's how I started writing years ago, going through depression, going through in between the suicide attempts. I started writing, and writing really saved my life. Writing allowed me to really start to process, and that evolved into poetry, that evolved into manuscripts, that evolved into musical lyrics, and over time, and movie scripts over time, TV scripts. So, you just never know what direction you're going to go, but just starting, like Reed had mentioned earlier. So if you just start to write down, whether it's a certain emotion, something that you're feeling, tap into that, and then allow your subconscious to begin to fill in the rest. And maybe for the first time, you'll have an opportunity to really be honest with yourself. And that also gives you an outlet, which a lot of people maybe feel like they don't have.
I love it. Patrick, where in your life journey did you learn this advice?
I had to learn it the hard way. Started writing when I was going through the middle of depression, was up late. Nobody was really awake during those times. And so it was really battling myself. And, the human psyche is really weird, because it's your biggest cheerleader when you need it, but it's also your biggest critic. And so being able to just write down my thoughts and dialogue those out gave me the opportunity to reflect, gave me the opportunity to go back, and now, tracking milestones as a business owner, being able to go and practice in the power of gratitude. Writing these things also teaches me kind of the tangible growth, where I can physically see all the things that I've done, even if it's in the past week, the past years, the past 6 years, etc.
I love it. Well, you ready to bring everyone else out and start our round robin?
Absolutely.
All right. Audience, this is a great time for you to comment questions. We will ask them live to our guests. First, though, let's go ahead and start with Reed. Reed, can you quickly refresh what your tip was for us?
Yeah, I mean, it was just getting started. pull out a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil. I think there's something to be said about having a physical writing apparatus to help channel that energy. But even if not, whether it's a Google Doc on your phone or your computer, open up your computer, write a title, just say poem, put a date on it, just get started. And actually, Patrick brought up something that was really useful. This is like a next step to that is I try not to force it when I write. I try to write when I'm inspired. And I can just see so much of a difference if I'm like feeling inspired to like tap into that energy and not put it off. It helps me get things done when I'm inspired.
Andrea, what are your thoughts on Reed's tip?
I love it. I mean, get started. I have poems beside me that are written on toilet paper. I have a bin of poetry that is written. Well, I have to go. I will do that. They're right here. They're right there, but they're in a bin. I was a waitress for many years, and all of that stack with the toilet paper, the Kleenex, it's also written on the back of when waitresses wrote on those cards. They all have like the invoice number on top. Mine are all full of poems. They're in a bin, all centered, ready to be published for one book. But just grab anything. I mean, you have to.
The old toilet paper poetry book.
You have to catch it. The poems come through you. You have to catch it. You have to catch it on paper. So wherever that is for you, or else it can get lost. Here's another tip. I buy the cutest little pens. You have to have cute tools. Everywhere beside me is cute pens full of glitter, sparkles. These I can show you. You have to have cute shit. You have to have cute shit. And there's all these cute journals.
And toilet paper to clean it up.
Clean shit, cute shit, and toilet paper.
You have to have
toilet paper. Andrea, you're on a roll here. A toilet paper roll.
Listen, if you were setting up your office and you were going to become a millionaire, you would have your office set up so beautifully. Now, if you want to write something or you feel there's something to write and you're just like, I don't know how, just get all the things. Buy the cute journals, buy the cute pens, and have it sitting there ready to go. It's an energy. It's a force. You can do this. Stop cracking jokes at me.
You're writing them yourself on toilet paper.
Just kidding me.
All right, let's move on. Patrick, what are your thoughts on Reed's tip?
Just like everything, right? I think it is so important to just start, to dare yourself. And a lot of times just doing it, just trying something, you don't know what the results are going to be. And that's really the beauty of writing, is there's no wrong or right way to write. Yes, there's traditional methods, there's different rhyme schemes and sonnets and styles, but the beauty of writing, no matter what form of writing, whether you're a lyricist, you're coming from music, you're coming from a writer's perspective, you can be very honest. And there's very few places in this world where you can be very honest without judgment. And that's why I love writing.
All right. I love that. Andrea, do you want to quickly refresh what your tip was for us?
I have to watch my words in this crowd. Listen.
No, never.
Listen, I never watch my words. I never will. And that's probably why I'm a published poet. But listen, there is a force inside all of us that's dying to come out. And I think that if you're feeling compelled or you have something you want to say, maybe you just write that down for today. Maybe you just start where you are, which is a Zen saying that I teach my yoga students. Start where you are. If something's hurting you or if you feel something inside, the best thing you can do for yourself is just put it on paper. So your poem might start like, today's a crappy day. Don't joke me about toilet paper, but maybe you just write down, I am sad. Maybe you just write down, I am happy. But here's what happens. When you start to write or when you put those words on paper, you take them out of your mind. So that means there's space in your mind. And the words on the paper act like this force and this vacuum, and then more stuff can come. And it's just a process that you really have to experience. And It's really quite, as I'm sure Reed and Patrick would agree with me, it's really quite magical. It doesn't matter where you are. This isn't something that you need this, that, or the other thing for. This is a basic human instinct. This is for all of us. We all bleed the same blood. We're on over 99.9% or whatever the stat is. Our DNA is the same. This is for anybody, but this is a tool that can help you heal your life.
All right,
I'm
Patrick,
sure I
what are
didn't
your
answer
thoughts
the
on that
question,
tip?
but
Yeah, I gotta agree and echo that, the ability to maybe understand what you're going through and feel through. Sometimes it's hard to push through that, especially if you're just allowing yourself to experience and feel those emotions. But when you write them down, and then you maybe write down how you feel about that or what you're internalizing, the words just start to come out. And I like to do something called a decompression writing, and it's where you just write for 20 minutes, and usually the first 20 minutes is just everything that's kind of fresh, things you've gone through, maybe your social media feed, things that you talked about. But then if you can get past that 20-minute barrier, then all of your emotions that are carrying you, all of the things that maybe are weighing you down, or the things that are heavy on your heart, they start to come out, and you're going to be really amazed at what comes out and maybe what you've been holding on to.
It's fascinating. All right, that's a good idea. Reed, what are your thoughts on her tip?
On Andrea's tip?
Yeah.
Or what was the question?
Yes, on Andrea's tip.
Well, something really stood out to me about what Patrick had said earlier about writing in private, and so
Okay.
without the pressure of expectation to perform or produce. Because I do perform occasionally with poetry, and I find that that's really fulfilling. So people who do poetry, maybe some form of inspiration can be that they can share that live, because you don't have to. And the reason I create poetry is not to perform it live. I do kind of share it in private. It's therapeutic for me. It's my own craft. It's my own expression. And that's primary to why I do it. But I also take pride in getting it to a place where I'm proud of. And then once I'm proud of it, kind of taking it to the greater community and sharing it. And it is kind of profound to see how it impacts other people. And so I guess I want to give homage to the fact that writing in private and that being a safe space is an amazing practice. And then to focus on not giving or creating too much pressure for performance. And then beyond that, if you do feel comfortable, or even if you don't feel comfortable, I get terrified every time I perform or speak. But maybe taking that to a community and seeing how it resonates with other people can provide direction to your poetic journey.
Awesome. Patrick, can you quickly refresh what your tip was?
Yeah, my tip was to really just be honest, right? And many of you remember maybe kind of the mind map, where you kind of put a central idea and you kind of draw a circle around it and stem off different branches and ideas. And a lot of times you can kind of do that with yourself. So, maybe you're feeling really happy today. So you just write the word happy and then draw stems off. Why is it that make you happy? What is it about this moment? And a lot of times you're kind of fleshing out what you're experiencing in real time. And how we often do this, with business and to have a thoughtful and a clear vision. Now you're kind of giving yourself clear vision of what you're going through. And a lot of times just using that can be the starting point. And maybe there's a certain word that you're holding on to, or a word that has stuck out to you from a recent conversation. A lot of times just writing that word down. Sometimes it's writing it over and over. Sometimes it's, that example of happy. Happy is today. Happy is yesterday, right? Happy is the future. Who knows what that stems from? And then maybe it evolves, right? Happy is the future because I plan to make it X, Y, Z.
Nice.
And so you can start with one sentence or one word and just build onto it. But what's really nice is that when you can be honest with yourself, it opens up different depths and different layers. Like Reed had mentioned, sometimes, you write in private and then maybe you do want to share that. I remember going to some of my first business meetings because I learned how to build a community by live streaming on Twitch. And that's actually what taught me how to build a business. So everything I've built has been through social media because of that reason. But I would go to these meetings and I would actually leave them with a poem, because that was the only thing that I knew of how to leave a lasting impact based off of the community that I built. And so, to have the confidence in that, I remember, and I look at people and I'm like, they're like, dude, do you remember when you gave me that poem? It still resonates with me to this day. And I never in a million years thought that people would actually reach out to me for my writing, for my thoughts. And it's a beautiful thing when you can create really something out of nothing, which is really the beauty of writing, because it comes from self.
I love it. All right, we're gonna swing this episode a little bit back. I just got reminded from one of our viewers. So we have done poetry before, and we did it with a social health aspect. So one of our challenges was to write a poem and put it in a public place. So I want to ask you guys, this episode is more on poetry and mental health. How are you guys able to, or how can you see that poetry is helping people with their mental health?
Can I speak?
Yes.
I have spoken. No, I exactly wanted to turn the conversation this way. I want to bring up Plato's theory of mimesis. Okay, this is in the front in No Matter How Dark the Stain, Poems and Inspiration for the Woman in Pain. There's a definition of this. Plato's theory of mimesis was that all forms of art are imitation of life, of idea, of reality. What that means when you're reading a poem is that the poet is writing the poem in one moment, and the reader is reading it in another moment. But as that's happening, both are transformed. And I'll give you an example of this. So there's a poem in my book called Rohypnol. And my publisher was like, no, we can't publish a poem that says Rohypnol in it. And I said, well, then you're not.
What is Rohypnol?
Roofies?
It's the date rape drug.
Okay, yeah, just want to make that clear out there.
The date rape drug, okay? And she's like, no, we can't publish it. And I'm like, well, then you can't have the book, because the silence of these things is an epidemic. So here I am. Fast forward, okay? I'm standing in a bookstore, and there's this beautiful young girl. She looks like Barbie and has my book like this. And her dad bought her the book because he knew that something was wrong, like something had happened to her, but he didn't quite know. And so he bought her my book, right? So she's standing there, beautiful blonde hair, just like a beautiful Barbie doll. And she comes in line, and it's her turn, and I'm signing her book. And she says to me, I didn't think there were words for what happened to me. But reading that poem, like, gave her those words for that. And in that moment, you are healed. Like, you can, like, the words actually can heal your life. Because why? Because where there is light, there can be no darkness. You can't be happy and sad at the same time. But if we don't have words for these horrible experiences that happen to us, then they kind of stay and linger, and we don't know how to process them, right? So it's so important. So, and here's another tip. If you're writing a poem and you have that resistance, because there's always resistance. If you say, I'm going to write 5 poems today, you'll have 20 reasons why not to. But here's one thing that I like to think about. When I'm writing a poem, or when it comes to me and I'm like, oh, but I just want to have chips and watch TV and not write it. Here, like, that's not important, because there's people behind me. There's other people coming out that are going to need to read it. And we have to think about that. We are collective, right? And I had these poems for No Matter How Dark the Stain written since age 7. I knew they weren't for me. And as soon as COVID happened and domestic violence phone calls went up 60%, I knew that was a time to get the words out, because the words can heal other people. Sometimes you're writing and it's not just for you. Sometimes you're writing through what you're writing through so that somebody else can read the words and heal their life. And isn't that why we're here?
That's very true. A lot of writing isn't for you and can help others. We tell people that all the time. All right, guys, we are running out of time, unfortunately.
Thank you, Mike.
So we have one last task before we end. we must come up with our daily challenge. This is a task that takes less than 5 minutes a day, costs $0, is available to anyone in the world, that helps us improve our mental health with poetry. What thoughts do you guys have?
I would say write the affirmation that you wish that you had during your hardest times. Write that and encourage someone else to read that.
Okay.
And a lot of times, by sharing what you've gone through, like Andrea said, our stories maybe are not made for us. Our words maybe are not meant for us. And that affirmation may be somebody's poetry for today. One poem a day, right?
So we write
One
the
poem a
affirmation and then we
day.
write a line that rhymes with it.
You could, absolutely, yeah.
What other thoughts do we have?
I have mine. So I would say right now, write down what is the worst thing that has happened to you in your life this far. Write down what has happened to you, the worst thing on a page. In the second column, make a love story out of that. Use those words. Write down the worst thing that has happened to you. Second column, write down the love story of that. And you will see that your mind can create a love story out of anything that has ever happened. It's the same mind. The mind that repeats the horror story to yourself can also create a love story out of your life. Oh, yeah.
Man, those are all right. All right. We only got 5 minutes. Let's see here. Maybe we write the. Well, I do like the public sharing, and if we write down the worst thing that's ever happened to us, that's probably much less likely to be shared. I think that we'll.
You write down the worst in column A and make a love story out of it, column B. For example, for a long
But
time,
sharing the worst thing that's happened to you is not something
you don't have to share it. This is something that a person is doing, right? To start to write poetry. So for me, I had to write down all of the negative things I was told. I'm fat. I'm ugly. Universities don't take people like me. In column B, I wrote down, I am a child of God. I am the daughter of a loving father. Right? So you take the second column and write what's true about those things. If you're not doing that, then anytime if there's not light shown on those things of darkness, they will continue to hurt you. When you close your eyes, they'll creep up. We have to be able to use the poetry is a gift because it can transmute those negative thoughts and bring love into your life.
Reed, what are your thoughts on a daily challenge?
Yeah, so I mean, I want to touch on what Andrea is sharing. I think it's super profound and probably the healthiest practice and direction to take just holistically for your health. If you focus on like the thoughts and the feelings you have in your head and getting clear on what they are and then changing them. She mentioned earlier that you can heal your life. There's a book I recommend everybody read it called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And it's that premise of talking about the narrative we tell ourselves and that we're trapped in with our current beliefs and feelings, and then channeling who we really are and leaning into that through affirmation. Separate from that, echoing that, a personal connection to my own poetry journey. There was a time a few years ago, running was super therapeutic for me. And I lost a bunch of weight. Through running, it was something that helped me stay grounded in my sobriety and my recovery. And then I broke my leg and I couldn't run. And I was addicted to running, actually, I found. And I tried running on this fractured leg and it just made it worse. And for 18 months, I struggled with this injury until I self-medicated with food and made myself lay in bed for weeks and weeks and weeks so this leg would heal. And I was so depressed and so suicidal during those weeks that I was terrified. I scared a lot of people in my network if I was going to make it and be okay. And so in those emotions, there was one day that I finally said enough is enough. And I sat up on the edge of my bed and I picked up a notebook and I started writing. And so kind of the daily challenge, I guess, that I would share is whether it's the worst feeling that you're feeling in a day, if you're feeling negatively, or the best feeling, the thing that you're most hopeful or optimistic about, whatever that inspiration is. It can be dark. It can be the worst thing that's happened to you, or it can be super light, super hopeful. Lean into that and write something inspired from that place. And I would really love to share just a snippet of that poem that I wrote that day. And it was, when I'm at home, I wish I thought less. My mind's contesting, shouting less is more. You're more than your disease unless you're sick with hope. You're made for more. And I'm more anxious than I've ever been. My thoughts, they bleed, they slap, they slam, cuts off all of my oxygen. And so in that moment, right, that healing that process brought me, I had no idea that I would share this poem with what would be hundreds and hundreds of people over the span of years. But the healing that it's brought me and the connection it's brought me has been super rewarding. So that was a moment I leaned into the darkness, shared that on paper in private, and it's led me to the light over time.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, so I'm going to try to boil all this down into a 5-minute daily challenge. So we're going to take a little bit of both. I'm going to have you get everyone write a struggle from yesterday. I think that's much more likely to be shared than the worst thing that's ever happened to you. So something negative from the day before and an affirmation for today. And if you're really crazy, make them rhyme, because that's what we all think poetry does. Simple enough?
Simple.
And that'll be a poem a day, a 2-line poem. Now, if you have 20 minutes and you want to get crazy and you want to write 20 lines, go for it. But for our basic challenge, we'll have a struggle from yesterday, an affirmation, something positive today, and we'll hopefully make them rhyme. So just a little 2-line poem every day to get some people writing some poetry. Sound like a plan?
Here you go.
All right. Well, that is the culmination of our show. Thank you all so much for coming out. I'll put you backstage and wrap this up. Thank you so much, Reed, Andrea, and Patrick. And thank all of you watching so much. Whew, that was a fun one. Hopefully you learned a little bit about poetry and mental health. Our daily challenge is going to be think about the day before and something that maybe you struggled or was a little tough. Write it down. Then think of an affirmation for today, something you want, something positive. Try to rhyme them if you so desire. And maybe give someone a hug just to help read out. But now we'll have a poem every day for the next 7 days. And don't forget to follow us and like.